morning and welcome to the 2026 Research Infrastructures InfoDay Question and Answer live session. My name is Minna Vilkki and I am the Head of Department for Future Society at the European Research Executive Agency, better known as REA. At REA, we have the crucial responsibility for evaluating proposals and monitoring projects under the Research Infrastructures part of the Horizon Europe work programme. Today's session is an important step in that process. The Research Infrastructures Programme plays a key role in making the European research area a reality. It supports the structural policy objective of strengthening the sustainability, accessibility and resilience of research infrastructures. The topics under this work programme clearly align with this ambition. Funded projects will further develop and consolidate existing research infrastructures, reinforce their integrative function within the R&I ecosystem, and strengthen their potential to tackle EU priorities. The work programme also supports the European research area's structural policy of enabling open science via sharing and reuse of data, including through the European Open Science Cloud EOSC. In particular, through the EOSC destination topics, but also through topics in other destinations, this programme will help build a high-value EOSC federation and increase its uptake. By strengthening EOSC, we also contribute directly to the goals of the European data strategy. Beyond its role for the European research area and the data strategy, the Research Infrastructures Work Programme directly contributes to several key EU policy initiatives. It aligns with the recent European strategy on research and technology infrastructures to enhance Europe's strategic independence in areas such as AI, clean tech and biotechnology. Investments made through this work programme help foster, integrate and modernize world-class infrastructure facilities and data services across Europe. Research infrastructures also play a crucial role for the EU startup and scale-up strategy. They improve access to advanced facilities and services, strengthen the collaboration with industry, and help innovators translate excellent research into scalable market solutions. The Research Infrastructures Work Programme will similarly contribute to the strategy for European life sciences, notably through its support to the eBrains research infrastructure. Moreover, the work programme continues its support for Ukraine through a dedicated topic aiming to facilitate Ukraine's integration into the European research area. As you can see, the stakes of this work programme are high. The topics addressed today and the project that will follow, your projects, will play a key role in strengthening the European research area. In recent weeks, we have published online presentations of the 2026 Research Infrastructures topics prepared by my expert colleagues. Their presentations have covered the wide range of topics in great detail in order to give you a better understanding of what we are looking for. We have also collected many questions in advance and we will be answering them today. I encourage you to closely follow the event today and to raise any additional questions that may come to your mind during the sessions. And now, I am pleased to give the floor to my colleagues in the studio who will start answering your questions. Thank you very much for joining us today. I wish you an informative and enjoyable day.
Thank you very much, Minna. And now it's my turn to welcome you to this question and answer live session of the infrastructure. I'm joined here on stage by my panelists. First, I'm Maria Uttara, Sector for Research Infrastructures at the Research Executive Agency. And here with me, Agnes Aubert. She's head of sector in the unit of the Research Infrastructure and Open Science. She's joined by the Office and online quality officer Constantine and our legal officer from our call coordinator Jeremy Velasco and two project officers Tiziana De La Ragona and Tia Catalina. Mina already informed you of the new format that we're testing for this InfoDay, where we collected questions on Slido in advance and we answer them first. I also invite you to dealt with the questions we've already received. So the QR code you should be able to see, and I invite you to connect to Slido with the hashtag InfoDayRI 2026. Slido will remain open for the entire duration of this Info Day, and I ask you to focus your questions for the destination session, for the respective destination session. So we start with destination INFRADEV, and the first question is on topic DEV01. Could emerging environmental protection research infrastructures within the built environment aimed at mitigating invisible environmental risks affecting human health be considered within the scope of future European research infrastructures? This is a question for my colleague Agnes, I believe.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. So I think the question is important. In our work program, we are only dealing with research infrastructure, not infrastructure at large. So here it's not clear what is this type of infrastructure. I feel it's more, it's not really research infrastructure. What could be covered would be a research infrastructure helping to address research and innovation questions related to environmental risk affecting human health. So maybe to pass a concrete example, we would not deal with building an infrastructure against noise in a urban environment, but we could consider the concept of a research infrastructure helping to address research and innovation questions related to this noise issue in urban environment. It's just an example.
Thank you very much. The next question we received also for topic DEV01. Topic DEV01 funds research and innovation action type projects. What kind of R&D activities and expenses are expected in a project that only describes the desired research infrastructure to be implemented post-project through further funding, concept development? Again, I think a question for you, Agnes.
Thank you. I like to mention only describe the desired infrastructure. I think it's not a so easy issue. So you will see in the scope the type of activities that are expected, and mainly are of nature of a coordination and support action, meaning not necessarily research and innovation action, but it will highly depend on the type of infrastructure that you have in mind. And in many cases, you need in particular to develop very specific designs, processes, and even some equipment may need to be developed. You also have to identify technologies with due attention to technology sovereignty. You also have to work on the architecture of the proposed infrastructure. So you might have a lot of very specific, even R&I activities under this type of project. So you have the list of the expected activities covered, and some of them can be very much of a research and innovation nature.
Thank you. Next question, I see already is also for you, Agnes. How do you see the interaction between topic DEV05 from 2025, topic DEV02 from DEV 2026, and then the two SERV topics, SERV01 and SERV02 from the 2027 work program? Should they build on each other, but how?
I would say it's difficult for them to build directly on each other because they are running more or less in parallel. So when you design your proposal, when you apply to this for the 2026 call and later to the 2027, there will be these activities, this action will be launched sequentially, but more or less will run in parallel. So you have to imagine what could be the type of interaction. So it's not more about coordination, complementarities between these actions that, strictly speaking, building on each other. So the 2025 one, it's very much about imagining a new concept for access scheme. It's also proposing scenarios for governance, feasible operational steps, working on access policies, on good practices. And of course that can feed the development of the other action, in particular with the 2026 one. We can imagine working on a catalogue of services that are relevant for facilitating, promoting access to the facility, and therefore very much relevant to the 2027 access program. So these are examples. Also working on interoperability, converging access policies. In that sense, they have to interact among themselves.
Thank you, Agnès. The next question on topic 02. Does topic DEV 02 allow, within the framework of infrastructure structuring and integration activities, for the implementation of a transnational access type pilot call to test or demonstrate the operationalization of the synergies developed? I think it's also your best place to answer that, Agnès.
Thank you, Andrea. I would say that this topic doesn't cover access type of activities. To demonstrate other operationalization of synergies, yes, indeed, that could be addressed by this topic. But access, clearly, it's not planned. And in addition, you could not use you could not use a specific unit cost on access. That's not included in this topic.
Clear answer, thank you. Now we stay with DEV 02. What type of policy contribution is expected from proposals? For example, should this contribution mainly consist of direct support to policy design and implementation, structured dialogue with policymakers, evidence provision, or other forms of engagement?
I think it's for me.
Yes.
What is suggested here is very much relevant. So policy design, implementation, very much structured dialogue with policymakers, evidence provision, that's really relevant to the topic. But of course it will depend on which key initiative you want to link with and the maturity and the governance of this initiative. So structured dialogue, we could consider some activities, some initiative you would very much try to engage in a structured and sustained way with this initiative. For example, trying to represent your cluster in any board in the governance of this initiative. So anything is valid, but it will very much depend on which initiative you want to coordinate with. Not all are mature, not all have a governance, so you need to adapt to that. But very much what is suggested is very much in line. But you can have whatever fits better your expected objective. You can be imaginative as well.
Thank you. Again, still DEV 02.
That's the same.
No, it's the same question. Can we have the next question, please? But we stay with DEV 02. Regarding the scope of the proposed tool, is it expected to be designed to support one or more specific Horizon Europe partnerships or missions, or could it also address broader needs, going beyond individual missions and partnerships and covering wider policy priorities?
We are not at all prescriptive. We give partnership missions as examples, but the landscape of priorities, EU policies, is evolving quite fast, especially now. So it's important that when you design your proposal, you think what is the most important for us in the coming years, and even be able to adapt during the life of the project. And we are not prescriptive whether it should be a very broad objective, very broad initiatives or policy areas, or very targeted, specific initiatives such as a mission, a partnership. So you have really to fit with what is where you will have the impact, what is relevant for the research infrastructure. That said, you have to justify in your proposal your approach. So let's say that there is a partnership which is directly related to the scope of your research infrastructure and it's completely ignored in your proposal. You will have to explain why it's not your objective to interact with this partnership, and you have to be convincing.
Thank you. Then another question, how to interpret then it quotes the work program. Beneficiaries shall grant royalty-free access to their intellectual property relating to tools, standards, specifications, and other relevant outputs generated by this action to the EU institutions and to the beneficiaries of projects funded by the EU in view of a more sustained and integrated EU access scheme. I believe this question...
I could start. Yes. I could say a few words on the rationale for that. So we, in line with the European Strategy for Research and Technology Infrastructure that was published in September last year, we try to move from a project basis for access to a more sustained and integrated access scheme. So the idea is that we want that any development, we want to build on the expertise, the experience, and the outcome of the projects that are funded now, that will be funded soon, so that it can feed this process. And for that, we cannot anticipate what will be the consortia in the future, continuing this approach of developing a more integrated and sustained access scheme. So we need this consortia to be able to use the results generated by other actions. I would remind that for most of these actions funded from the EU is 100%, so it's natural that this result can benefit successive project initiatives that have the aim of developing this sustained and integrated EU access scheme. So that's the rationale.
Thank you, Agnes. Is there something maybe that Valeria wants to complement on that, our legal advisor?
It's mute.
We cannot
hear Valeria.
I'm sorry.
Yes, now we hear you.
Hello. Under Article 16 and Annex 5 of the Horizon Europe Grant Agreement, beneficiary keep ownership of the results, but must grant certain access rights to support EU interests. In addition, when required by call conditions, they must provide royalty-free access to key tools, standards, and specification to ensure continuity and avoid barriers to EU-wide infrastructure. So, according to the Horizon Europe Annotated Grant Agreement, beneficiaries must also grant EU institutions, bodies, and agencies royalty-free access to results for policy development, implementation, and monitoring. These rules mainly apply to outputs needed for compatibility and integration between systems, while beneficiaries remain free to commercially exploit the results in other contexts.
So the next question, we jump now to topic DEF 05. I think we just had one with DEF 05. Yes, that one. So beyond research activities delivered through access and fellowships, should consortia also plan and conduct defined research or technological actions, for instance, in dedicated work packages with scientific technical EU-Ukraine collaborative projects along research infrastructures under this call? And I think that's a question for my colleague Jason.
Yes, it's a very good question. So there is no requirement to have defined research activities that go beyond the fellowships. The point of the research activities is that they go together with the fellowships and they're a way to implement the fellowships. In that sense, it is not an INFRATECH project where the overarching goal is the development of the technology. Furthermore, these activities, they should be carried out mostly by the Ukrainian researchers, again through the fellowships, and also should directly benefit Ukrainian research infrastructures, either current or future, because the overarching objective of the topic is to strengthen the Ukrainian research infrastructure landscape and its integration to the European research area. And equally for the remote access part of the topic, which is a different type of activity, you do not need to have the activities predetermined, and in that way it is more similar to a SERV type of activity.
Thank you very much, Jason. Another question on DEV 05. The topic mentions offering remote access to Ukrainian researchers. What is the definition of remote access? Furthermore, shall remote access be funded by the proposal, or is it okay to promote existing access possibility? So, for instance, those offered currently by currently being implemented SERV projects. Also for you, Jason.
Thank you. So, remote access, and not just remote access, but all different types of access are defined in the Charter for Access for Research Infrastructures, which was revised in 2024. And there you can find the definition of remote access, which is that it is access that can take place without the user physically visiting an infrastructure's facilities. So this can entail shipping of samples, it can be exchange of data, or it can be access to digital services such as high-performance computing. However, what distinguishes remote access from virtual access is that in remote access, resources are limited. So there is and there will be some kind of selection required. On the second part of the question, indeed, a very big part of, because this is quite a large topic. So we do expect the topic to fund the remote access, not only make connections to existing implemented SERV projects that are offering access, but that does not preclude designing some sort of synergy or interaction with these SERV projects, as that can be to the benefit of the topic.
Thank you. We move to topic DEV 06. Research infrastructure in Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, remains very limited. How has the European Union addressed similar challenges? I think, Patricia, you're probably best placed to answer.
Thank you, Andrea. The Research Infrastructures Programme is not a capacity building. Its mandate is to support the development of pan-European scientific services. In that sense, the programme has supported collaboration with third country partners, and in past years we have supported some collaboration with African scientific entities, but always from the perspective of pan-European facilities.
Thank you. We stay with DEV 06. Could you confirm if some particular countries are eligible to participate in this call as beneficiaries, specifically Argentina, Paraguay, South Africa, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, and the United States? Argentina, Paraguay, and South Africa are automatically eligible for funding as they are named as such in the list of participating countries?
Like the question rightly identifies, Horizon Europe guidance documents include a list of countries that are automatically eligible for participation. Some of the countries in this question are automatically eligible. Those who are not in the list are not automatically eligible, but could be part of our proposal to this call topic, as long as the proposal describes why these countries are essential for project results. And I would also like to note that the proposal also requests for countries, both for countries that are automatically eligible and for countries that are eligible, if essential for the project, that the proposal describes in which way this participation would bring a benefit to the EU in the form, for example, of improving the impact or the quality of EU science.
Thank you. Next question. When mandatory to include one or several ERIC or S3 in the consortium, must they coordinate the project? Or an institutional research infrastructure, it's not an ERIC, not an S3 research infrastructure, can be the coordinator. For instance, in topic DEV 06, but also in the topic Tech 01. So I think it's for Valeria, this question.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. The answer to this question is no. The eligibility condition does not predetermine the specific role of the ERIC or S3, nor does it require any particular entity to act as coordinator. unless this is explicitly stated in the work program. Depending on the topic, the scope may further clarify the expected role of the ERIC, including those relevant to the eligibility condition.
Thank you. We go back to DEF 06. A proposal can include the participation of entities from Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, and the US as beneficiaries and affiliates. But in order to be granted funding, the proposal should describe and justify the EU benefit of the funding requested by the third country organization, which would then be assessed at the evaluation stage. Is this correct? I think you alluded to it before, Patricia.
Yeah, this is correct. I gave a very long reply to the earlier question, so I already replied to this second question. My apologies. Yeah, indeed. I mean, those countries that are not automatically eligible, but can justify in which way they're essential for the project, would also, the proposal would also need to describe for all of them, for all non-associated third country entities, in which way they contribute to the impact or to the quality of European science carried out in the project. Yeah.
Thank you. How are research infrastructures proposed through INFRADEV expected to be implemented post-project? There is an info gap from the preparatory phase, funded through the call, to the actual implementation phase. There's a need for more tangible info on how things work. Is this for you, Agnes? Yes.
Thank you, Andrea. So actually in the current work program, but in the predecessors as well, we try to support specific phase of the life cycle of research infrastructures. From concept, and in 2026 we have something about a topic on concept and design of new generation of research infrastructure. For those that are just enter in the S3 roadmap, indeed we support the preparatory phase. And after the preparatory phase, I think it's quite recent, it's since Horizon 2020, we have this additional support targeting those that enter quite recently the S3 roadmap that have already been supported for their preparatory phase, but we have this additional support for the early implementation phase, bridging to real implementation. But we don't stop here. We continue for those that are have become hopefully S3 landmarks. We have targeted support, either individual support, and in 2026 you will see the DEV 03 topic exactly for that purpose. But now at this stage it starts being on a competitive basis. So bottom up for the concept, targeted to a specific individual infrastructure for preparatory phase, early implementation, and then later for those that become landmark support, but more on a competitive basis. So I think we are covering quite largely the whole life cycle of the research infrastructure. That said, the core funding for the construction, for the operation, it's in the remit of the owner of the facility and mostly the member states and associated countries.
Thank you. How can INFRADEV projects link to the S3 roadmap? Is this necessary? And how is the roadmap updated with new entries? Who proposes what, how, and when? We stay with you, Agnes, I think.
I believe that almost all the topic of INFRADEV, maybe except the one for Ukraine, DEV 05, all of them specifically referred one way or the other way to S3 roadmap. Typically S3 landmarks, but also there is one which is referring both to S3 landmarks and S3 project. Is this necessary? We consider it is necessary because we want to consolidate the landscape. We don't want to do to have any development, significant development that is done without considering the S3 roadmap, without considering the S3 landscape analysis that was published in June 2024. And also we don't want to have any development that is ignoring completely the S3 landscape. So we think it's necessary. How it is phrased in the topic, how strong this link is, depends on the topic. In some cases it's a requirement. At least one S3 landmark, for example, or ERIC, it's a even an eligibility condition. In most cases, we have a statement in the scope that specifies what is a link. In one topic, it's referring to being engaged, not necessarily as a beneficiary. In some topics, it says should be a beneficiary. Even if it's not an eligibility condition, there should be some engagement, and it's strongly recommended that they are as a beneficiary. So you have some nuances depending on the objective of the topic.
Thank you. How does the Commission ensure continuity between the 26-27 work programme and a so far not defined work programme under FP10?
So indeed, FP10 is not defined, but there is a Commission proposal, which is a good basis on what's going to happen later, hopefully. And so referring to the Commission proposal, you can see some continuity. You will recognize the current destination, INFRADEV, INFRAEOSC, INFRASERV, INFRATECH. You will recognize this definition in the proposed line of activities in FP10 under the Pillar 4 for the research, in particular for the research infrastructure, but also to some extent to the technology infrastructure part. Of course, we cannot ensure the continuity because the discussions are still ongoing on FP10. What I would like to mention again is a reference to the European strategy for research and technology infrastructures that is bringing coherence on the action we have initiated in 26 and 27 and what is proposed in for FP10.
Thank you, Agnès. That was the last question that we've received beforehand, and as I explained before, we now move to the questions that you posted today in Slido. So I see we have one on topic 01. So topic 01, which encourages extending existing research infrastructures, could developing a complementary infrastructure in a domain with existing S3RIs without formal partnerships with them negatively affect a proposal's chances of success?
You can take it. We are not prescriptive in the topic. It's not eligibility requirement or even a requirement at all when drafting the proposal. However, when you are thinking to a new facility, and we are speaking not of any facility, we are speaking of the next generation of research infrastructure, so something major. You need to build support. You need to build support from the communities, the potential user communities. You need to build support from the member state, from the associated countries, so from the national authorities, the national funders. And through this support, you are expected to at least investigate before you set up the proposal, but during the life of the proposal, any kind of formal relationship, partnership with the existing ones that you want to expand. So it's not, maybe you don't have the resource to do it formally before you apply, but that should be an objective and one of the activity during the life of the project. And hopefully you should end up with a kind of formal structured relationship with the existing facilities that you want to expand.
Thank you. I see another one from Slido on topic 02. What type of policy contribution?
Yeah.
Yes, what type of, we had that question already?
Yeah, we had that question already.
Then we go to the topic 05. Could you please comment on the fact that it is research innovation action and not coordination support action? Do you see the possibility to support existing cooperations with long-term perspective in framework of technical work packages in addition to fellowships? It's for you, maybe Yasun, or?
Yes. So I think this links to the question that we already talked about in in the previous section, and I think that it is possible and to do these existing to support these existing cooperations, because in fact, if we go to the project, this is clearly in the scope. However, it is not necessary, because it is one way to implement the activities in the scope, and the fellowships is something that we specifically call for. So it can be both, but that one is more optional as a way to implement something. I don't know if you'd like to complement, Agnes.
No, I think you replied it's that you have the opportunity to do this development with a long-term perspective, but it doesn't exclude short-term fellowships that has immediate benefit, but are not, maybe you don't have the resource to make it sustainable. That's my understanding.
Thank you. We have a question for DEV 03. The funding rate is 80%. Could you give more information what kind of co-funding instruments for the remaining 20% would be acceptable? And does the 20% co-funding need to be equally provided by all beneficiaries?
I can address this one. So we speak rather of co-financing rather than co-funding, which has a specific meaning in the sense of Horizon Europe. So this co-financing, we are not, again, prescriptive. We would expect, the idea is that under this topic, we really want to see something which is critical for the targeted S3 or ERIC, for its sustainability, for its operation, and for optimizing the access to this facility. So we expect that the infrastructure itself has a strong interest in what they are doing, and to ensure this strong interest that it's just not nice to have, but really essential. That's why we have this co-financing approach. How it is covered, so you will have to describe your activities and the cost. You will have to justify 100% of the cost, and we reimburse 80%. How the 20% are covered by your own funding resource or additional non-EU funded resource, but external to your normal funding model, it's up to you. We are not prescriptive, but it cannot be covered by other EU projects. Whether this 20% co-financing need to be equally provided by all beneficiaries, no. You have to arrange yourself. You might decide to support 100% some activities or some partners, and less for others. That's your own internal agreement.
Thank you. Question on DEV 07. This topic is more plan desk study oriented. The combination of risk identification and planning, along with the production of a technology product, TRL 7 to 8, that mitigates the risk itself, could be the main focus of a proposal?
It's not only about planning, it's also about implementing. So you might have some activities that will help implementing, mitigating, or even in some if really needed for critical aspect, implementing the contingency plan. So it's not only about planning and desk study oriented. Maybe, I don't know if Mihaela want to add something.
Yes, if I may, I wanted to say the exact same thing. The topic in itself, it's not related to desk planning. Indeed, we can go much further than that. We need implementation, we need contingency plans. We have already identified specific domains that are critical in this sense. So the main idea of the proposal should be definitely going beyond desk planning, yes.
Thank you. And we have a question. If the project is in the waiting list to be an S3 project, does it count as S3 in the partnerships?
I can. There is no I think the conditions are already precise, and I think we refer to the S3 roadmap or to the S3 portfolios, S3 website. So no, anything that is in waiting list is not sufficient.
Clear answer, thank you, Agnes. Topic DEF02. Regarding the scope of the proposed tool, is it expected to be designed to support one or more specific Horizon Europe partnerships or missions, or could it also address broader needs? I think we had a very similar question already.
I've already replied. I can repeat. We are not prescriptive. You can target very targeted initiative or much broader, or both.
DEF06, could you explicitly confirm if countries from non-associated countries such as US and Japan are eligible for funding? Patricia.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, we have already confirmed all these countries that are not in the list of automatically eligible can be considered eligible if the proposal justifies in which way they are essential for the project. So yes.
Thank you. Will the Commission support strategic technology development pilots that are hosted at large-scale industrial test facilities to bridge the gap between lab research and commercial scaling for carbon capture?
Again, INFRATECH question.
I can reply. So it can be covered by INFRATECH, but we have to remind that we are supporting facilities that have some openness. We are supporting open science, so there should be some impact. So when we refer to industrial facilities, we refer with facilities that are not open in a transparent way or are not at all open to external users that are not specific industry companies. So we have to be careful. It's yes, pending that we are really developing capacities that are reinforcing the European research area at large.
Thank you. We go back to the 80% funding. How will the experiences gained about 80% funding be analyzed, and is it foreseen that this funding model will become more or less common in the future?
It's difficult for me to anticipate. I would say that nothing is excluded. And given the budget constraint, it could be that we are carefully considering promoting this co-financing approach in the future.
Thank you. DEF01. Could a university-based research infrastructure be funded under this call, working towards a pan-European distributed research infrastructure for talent development and access to advanced research facilities, covering the gap in talent training?
I can address that. So the reply is in principle yes. We don't have any prescriptive information on where this research infrastructure is based. And we have many universities participating to our current selected project. Nevertheless, we are addressing infrastructure with a kind of uniqueness. Adding to the current landscape of research infrastructure, we explicitly refer to the S3 landscape analysis. So we are working on something which is quite unique. You are discussing the next generation of EU-relevant research infrastructure. Whether it's based in a university or not, we really want to develop something that is not already there. And of course, by developing this facility, you are privileging, promoting talent development, access to advanced research infrastructure, and covering the gap in talent training. But the main objective is really a step change in addressing a scientific challenge. And of course, talent is important, but that's an infrastructure which is bringing added value only about talent training would not be in the scope.
Thank you. Topic DEF02. Can it also fund proposals coming from the humanities and social sciences?
Of course, this cluster is covered.
Very quick answer and clear answer. DEV 05. Should cost sheets and description of research infrastructure be included in the proposal, since it should offer remote access?
I think this is more of this is the part of the topic that is more similar to a SERV topic.
Yeah.
So I would leave it to
I would say that it's not exactly the kind of SERV topic. So you don't have to provide. You will not use a specific unit cost. You don't have to provide or prepare the cost sheet for. You don't anticipate the number of units. So it's not really the INFRASERV condition apply. The specific picture for access to infrastructure that are at the end of the research infrastructure part of the work program do not explicitly apply. So yes, remote access and remote access costs are covered, but it's not the traditional SERV approach.
Thank you. Topic DEV 07. How strongly are research security and foreign interference issues interlinked with the other activities mentioned, or is research security a separate issue of this call?
I'll try to reply, but maybe I missed something in the question. For me, it's quite obvious that it's not that you have activities related to research security on one side and whatever is done in another work package do ignore. That should be coherent, and you have to be very careful on research security, on technology sovereignty and so on preserving critical research data. It's really a cross-cutting approach in the proposal that is expected.
We stay with DEV 07. How can a proposal address links to initiatives such as the European Centre of Expertise on Research Security, as this centre is not yet existing?
So during the life of the project, you will see what is going on, and you have to adapt. As I said, the landscape, especially the geopolitical context, is going fast. The European Commission is adapting its priorities, is launching new initiatives. So you have to describe your approach. And of course, you have to plan things, but you have to adapt also with what is going on and what is out your direct remit. So flexibility, capacity to adapt is key in this topic.
Move back to DEV 01. Would a research infrastructure focused on a specific clinical domain, for instance intensive care trials, be too narrow? Or could it still be in scope if it provides reusable services and access to the broader European research community?
First, I can reply, but first you would need the specialists or the experts that will, in the domain that will evaluate the proposal, will give you the definitive answer. That said, I'm sorry for being a bit provocative, but you have to consider to which extent you are building the next generation of EU relevant, EU interest, new capacity. If what you propose could be, it's a kind of incremental extension. It's not being narrow or not. If it's an incremental extension of what is existing, I would say it doesn't really fit with the topic. If it's really something very specific, so narrow, but it's really beyond, it's the equivalent of the next generation of the infrastructure, because narrow can be very targeted, but nevertheless something which has its own value as a new essential capacity. So then it would be up to the expert evaluating the proposal to confirm. You have to justify your approach. But I would say we are not so prescriptive. You are more prescriptive. Consider what is already there in the landscape.
We stay with DEV 01. Are there expectations regarding the profile of the coordinating organization? For instance, should proposals be coordinated by established research infrastructures, or can hospitals or universities also lead research infrastructure development actions?
Again, we are not prescriptive, and if you are developing a new research infrastructure, maybe there is no existing research infrastructure able to coordinate such project. And hospitals are fine if they have a significant expertise in the management of research capacities.
The question for topic 03. Is it expected to put 80% or 100% of the eligible costs in the detailed budget table?
I can reply that. So you have to describe the whole budget needed to achieve your objective and describing the action. So the answer is 100%.
I think
If I can
Jeremy,
comment.
yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so for DEV 0103, there is a specific template for the detailed budget table to comply with this 80% funding rate. So when you will introduce the cost per beneficiary and per package, then you have to introduce 100% of eligible cost. However, you will see in the instruction tab that the tool will calculate for you the 80% that you will have to introduce in the part A in the tab called lump sum breakdown. So in all your in all this budget table, you introduce 100% of this eligible cost. Then you go in this tab called lump sum breakdown that will calculate for you the 80% funding rate that you will have to introduce in the part A of your proposal.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next is a general question. Would it be possible to take part in the call if we are a company developing diagnostic tests in the field of veterinary science and we plan to develop our infrastructure?
Again, we are not prescriptive, and that in principle that's possible, but you have really to see that we are really targeting unique services relevant at EU level. So you have to see if you fit with this description. So if it's essential, if you are there is no reference to a specific topic, if it's to develop really a completely new infrastructure, the scale, I think it should be really something essential for the European research area in the domain. So keep that in mind. Then the second perspective would be how to join a consortium of a number of related research infrastructure. Then you have to really see how the landscape is developing. Possibly you have to make contact with those that are the closest to your area from the S3 roadmap in particular, and the S3 research infrastructure or ERICS, and see how you fit with this landscape and how you can complement and be engaged in one or the other topics on our work program.
A question on topic 01. Can a digital and methodological infrastructure for adaptive platform trials qualify as a research infrastructure if it provides structured services to the wider European clinical research community?
Again, I'm sorry to repeat a bit myself, but you have existing infrastructure. You have existing infrastructures that are offering structured services to the wider European clinical research communities. So do you fit with that, or are you really providing something unique, equivalent to the next generation of research infrastructure? How do you fit with the landscape is a key question.
Now on DEF 01 again, how would a major upgrade of an existing research infrastructure be defined? Does this need to point to the S3 process for major upgrades, or is a loose idea of expanding the scientific scope of an infrastructure acceptable?
I think the looser idea by definition won't work. Major upgrade means that at the end, if you develop this infrastructure, you have something which is equivalent to a completely new infrastructure that would deserve entering the S3 roadmap as a new S3 project. So see what is in the S3 roadmap, see in particular what are the S3 projects on the S3 roadmap, what you propose. To a certain extent, is it equivalent to what you see on the S3 roadmap?
Now, again, a more general question. Can an associate country organization lead a bid? So I guess can
That's for sure.
organization from a Horizon Europe associated country be coordinator? No, it's, maybe Valeria, but I think.
Yes, they can. If this country is listed in the associated countries of the Horizon Europe list, they are eligible for funding and for participation, and they can be also coordinators.
Thank you. Now, topic 06. Can an entity organization legally based in a country that's not eligible for funding, but that is of transnational and regional nature, for instance, covering all LAC countries, be eligible for funding? We stay with you, Valeria, I think.
To this question, I think it's better to come back later through the platform.
Thank you, Valeria. So I didn't mention before, we will answer all questions. This session is recorded, will be available later online, and all the questions that we answer now, or the ones we cannot answer that keep coming in, we will also publish. Now, I think with this we go, because we're nearing the end of this session, we're going to the last question that we will answer live. Is there a standard timeline for mandatory reports in a lump sum project? 12 months, 18 months, do these mandatory reports have to coincide with the completion of one or more work packages? Do you want to take that, Valeria? We have no standard timeline. It's up for the project normally to
exactly
define that.
There are no standard mandatory reports. It is up to the project and to the months of its duration. Exactly.
Thank you. Now, I think with this we stop the INFRADEV session. We will take a 15-minute break, and then we will come back with the next destination from the 26 Research Infra Work Program, which will be EOSC, dedicated to the European Open Science Cloud. So please get ready. You can already, Slido I think is open. Or as I said, we'll stay open. Post your questions for EOSC, and we will come back after the break.
Hello and good morning. My name is Vaina Luzoli. I'm the deputy head of the unit in the Research Executive Agency managing the program for research infrastructures. We are here today to answer your questions in relation to research infrastructure work programs 2026, specifically the destination INFRAEOSC. The title for the topic that was included in the 2026 work program is Enabling an Operational, Open and Fair EOSC Ecosystem, which comprises two topics mainly, one about fair data management and a second one about a secure and efficient data sharing in the European Open Science Cloud. So before I introduce the distinguished panel that will help you actually with your questions, I will say that you need to, please connect to the Slido so you can ask your questions about the EOSC in the remainder of the presentation after the set questions. And I think the handle for that would be INFO-RI 2026. So connect to the Slido, start thinking about questions you may want to ask to our distinguished panel. These people are best placed to answer your questions, and I'll introduce them now. We have in the studio with us Pantelis Tsiviloglu, who's the policy officer, I should say, in DG Research and Innovation, clearly an expert on this topic. And we're joined in the live session remotely by three colleagues from the Research Executive Agency. We have Flavio Spana, who is the project officer and topic leader for this topic. We have Valeria Iliadou, who's a legal advisor, again, at the Research Executive Agency. And we have Jérémy Delattre, who's the call coordinator for this call. So together, I think this panel is in a very good position to answer all your questions you may have. We start now with a couple of questions that came through the post, let's say. They came via the Slido, they came via the functional mailbox, they were asked by the community, let's say as starters. So the first question that I will ask Pantelis, please, to answer today is in the topic 01 and runs as follows. The financial support to third parties for the open science projects must be provided in the form of grants that should be between euro 100,000 and 250,000 per grant for a duration for 12 to 14 months. So this is the formulation in the work program. The question is, while in the call it's also specified that the maximum amount to be granted for each third party is 750,000 euros actually. Pantelis, can you explain what this means?
Yes, thank you very much. So what we see here is that the topic specifies two limits. The first limit is on the amount that each third party, the maximum amount that each third party can receive. And the second limit, which is in fact a range, is the range of the amount that each grant under the financial support to third party mechanism can have, which is between 100,000 and 250,000. So what this means in practice is that, say for example, we have a case where this financial support to third parties provides grants of 250,000 euros, mono-beneficiary grants. Then this means in practice that one organization can participate up to 3 such grants, because this would be then reaching the maximum amount of 250,000 euros for its participation in the financial support to third party grants. So this is basically what the topic specifies. There are two limits that apply to different things. The first one is on the maximum amount to be given to a third party, and the second one concerns the grants that are granted under the financial support to third party, and there we have the range between 100,000 and 250,000 euros.
Thanks very much, Pantelis. I think that's loud and clear, and it should have dispelled any remaining doubts about FSTP, always a hit in recent years. The second question we have for today is arguing that in the call text, it is specified that proposals should include the following activities, and then 5 activities are listed. The question is, should the proposal include all these activities or only a subset of them?
Yes, so this is a question about the second topic. In the FAIR destination, we have 8, in fact, activities that are listed, and all of these activities should be included in the proposals that are being submitted. So we have activities around the development and implementation of data sovereignty networks, the demonstration and validation of adoption cases, the development of harmonized governance frameworks, the development of comprehensive data provenance tools and demonstration through identified use cases, the development of templates and guidelines for sovereign data management, and the development of guidelines for classifying critical data and services based on sensitivity and relevance, analysis of data categories and definitions across scientific disciplines. I'm only highlighting some of the text that you will find in the topic description. And finally, the 8th category that's mentioned is on the development of recommendations for the establishment of a support center linking with relevant national and thematic competence centers and focused on compliance of data management with EU and national legislation and proof of concept of its integration and sustainable operation in the EOSC Federation. So these are the 8 activities that are described in the topic description, and all of them should be addressed by its proposal.
Thanks very much, Pantelis. Again, crystal clear to me. As you were speaking, we started receiving some questions through the Slido. So you follow the advice, you're connecting and asking us questions. The first one, I will read out, and then I'll ask, I guess, Pantelis, given the topic, to provide a first answer. The question runs like this. It says, how can the European Open Science Cloud integrate highly sensitive data, brackets, hate speech, collected by publicly funded NGOs? So how do we make the civil society data fair without viewing GDPR, interfering with GDPR, I would interpret from what is written, by forcing it to be completely open? Sensitive data. Please.
Yes, so this in fact, I don't see a specific reference to the 2 topics that we are describing here. This is a question for how EOSC at large can integrate this type of data. Maybe a quick remark on this is that within the INFRAEOSC work programs of previous years, we have also dedicated topics on addressing the development of trusted environments and the dealing and the management of sensitive data. And these are now being implemented by Horizon projects. For what concerns maybe trying to relate this question to the specific topics that we are presenting today, we are not excluding, of course, within the topic activities to also address aspects related to sensitive data in either of the 2 topics. And moreover, in the second topic on the data sovereignty frameworks, there is also references to how the projects can also address the management of sensitive data. So, of course, it is up to the applicants, up to the proposals to describe in their proposals, in their applications, how they want to incorporate this kind of activities in the submitted in the proposal they will submit to these topics.
Thanks very much. Again, I think this addresses the gist of what was asked. We have a second question from the Slido, and I'll read it out loud. 2 projects are expected to be funded. This is for topic 02, just to be clear. So to give you a bit of warning. 2 projects are expected to be funded, and the type of the project to be funded, the call, is a CSA. Is it expected that the 2 funded projects should focus on the same scope areas of the call, or should their approaches and focus areas be complementary?
Thank you for this question. Let's look at what we have, what the topic includes. The topic has an indicative budget of 10 million, and we also have an expected EU contribution per project between 3 and 5 million. So this implies that we can have between 2 and 3 projects funded for this under this topic. For what concerns the number of projects that can be potentially funded. For what concerns the scope of the topics of the proposal submitted to this topic, as it is always the case, each proposal should address all the aspects that are included in the scope of the topic, and as we discussed also in the previous question, all the points under scope should be addressed by each and every one of these proposals. Of course, we aim in INFRAEOSC topics to ensure that there are interaction and coordination between different projects within the topic, but also with other INFRAEOSC calls. We highlight the specific calls in the end of the topic. And to also remind that INFRAEOSC work program and the topic that we are discussing here in particular are being implemented within the framework of EOSC partnership. And to this end, there are specific provisions in the conditions of each topic under the INFRAEOSC destination that refer to coordination activities, concentration activities within the broader portfolio of INFRAEOSC projects under the EOSC partnership.
That sounds very clear again, sounds very good to me. And then we have, I hope, another couple of questions to get going. We got another bit of time for today. The next one for, I guess, both you, Pantelis, and maybe someone remotely. Let me see what it reads. It says that it's again about this topic 02, and he's asking quite straightforwardly, is a project with a contribution bigger than 5 million euros possible? So can we fund a project that proposes to say 5.5 or whatever it is above the 5 million? If you don't mind, I'll ask this to our legal advisor, Valeria from home. From a legal point of view, can we fund any proposal that's above the 5 million euros for this call?
I would say that this is the conditions of the call have to be followed, meaning that the provisions are the ones that are described in the call. And if this is the limit that the call sets, this cannot be higher than that.
And then, as I said, it's going to be a double act in this case, and I'll pass the floor to Pantelis for the operational considerations in relation to this.
Yes, please. Thanks. Yes, just to follow up on what was already said. Indeed, so we have to look into the specific conditions. This is where we see how this is being approached for this specific topic. And there, what we can see is that the Commission estimates that we have an EU contribution between 3 and 5 million, yes. But then we say that nonetheless, this does not preclude submission and selection of a proposal requesting different amounts. So in principle, the answer, based on the specific conditions stipulated in the topic, the answer is yes, you could have also different amounts being proposed outside this range that we are stipulating. But of course, this has to be justified, right?
Always look at a fine print. That's good advice in the work programs, and specific conditions, as Valeria said, also rule. So that is the answer for you. We got another couple of questions, a bit of time, so we'll keep going for a while. The next one is whether our speakers could please clarify how third parties are defined in this call. Can they be affiliated with the same institute as the main applicant, or do they need to be legally and administratively independent entities? This is a recurrent question we have across the board. So maybe I'll ask Pantelis to provide the first answer, and maybe we can ask Valeria again, and Jeremy perhaps. We shall see who's best placed to answer this one. As I say, it's a hot topic, it gets asked quite a lot. So Pantelis, if you can start, maybe colleagues can jump in later on.
Yes, let me try to address this question. So we are referring now to the third parties that will be the recipients of the financial support to third parties mechanism, what we call the cascading funding mechanism, under the first topic of the two topics that we presented. So this is the EOSC 01. These organizations, the legal entities that can be recipients as third parties of this mechanism, can be any eligible organization under Horizon Europe rules. And as an exceptionally for this topic, they can also be any of the participants of the Horizon Europe project. So let's say the project that will be granted under the specific topic. Of course, in that case, you may look also in the topic description. There are specific provisions. The project has to take specific measures to ensure that there is no conflict of interests or any other types of complexities for a beneficiary, a participant of the project, of the Horizon Europe project, to also be a recipient as a third party of the cascading funding mechanism.
And then from the remote connection, anybody wants to augment and or further specify the FSTP? As I say, it's quite a mouthful. We got quite a few of these questions across the topics. So anybody from the remote
I can try to expand, Weiner. Thank you so much, Pantelis, for addressing. I think it covers much of the answers. So normally for the financial support for third party, actually, we would expect a different entity that is not linked to the consortium to benefit for this financial support for third party. However, in the call conditions, we see that there is an exception put into place where research infrastructures that are also beneficiary can exceptionally also participate. However, as explained by Pantelis, there needs to be measures put into place to make sure that these beneficiaries or affiliated entities are not involved in the drafting and the selection procedures of the calls. And this actually makes sense to make sure that we have no conflict of interest between selecting the recipient, the third party, and granting the requested amounts. I would kindly ask the applicants here to have a look at two documents. One is the general annexes that we have for the work program 2026-2027. And in that regard, please have a look at page 19 of that general annexes where the financial support for third parties conditions is explained. But I would also kindly ask the applicants, even at the drafting stage of the proposal, to have a look in the finding and tenders portal under guidance. There is a guidance document on good practices for how to implement FSTP in EU grants. Please have a look at that document as they are essential for EOSC 01 call that is mainly, or one of the main activities is dealing with financial support for third parties. Thank you. I hope this covers a bit this part.
I think this covers it very well. It's a lot of advice you've been given on FSTP. It's a difficult scheme, frankly. It's not easy. It's something that needs to be engineered quite carefully. So thanks for this information. I should have said at the beginning, I'll say it at the end, whatever we cannot answer today, clearly will go as a written answer in the participant portal. This, I believe, doesn't apply to any of the questions we addressed, because I think it was quite clear. But if there's something that doesn't get addressed in full, we have the opportunity to further specify what has been said in the participant portal. So not to worry if we miss a tiny detail of the question you're asking. So we got another couple of questions here, and then to start looking at the watch to make sure that we stick to the time we've been given. The next one is, in addition, I believe in addition to what was asked before, if multiple research infrastructures or study centers are involved under one overarching hub structure, would these be considered separate third parties, or would they be treated as part of the same applicant organization? So are they many or are they one from FSTP point of view? I think this is the question they're asking you. Pantelis, please.
Okay. Yes, so I will try to reply, but then of course if colleagues from the research executive agency can also expand, that will be useful. To my understanding, the question is about the types of legal entities that can apply under the FSTP mechanism. And as we have described, any kind of eligible organization under Horizon Europe rules can apply. Then they will have to identify what would be the applicant, what would be the legal entity that is applying, and then that if that applicant is kind of including in its organization different study centers or different groups, research groups, then that would be the case where one applicant will be catering for all of them. If, on the other hand, the ones, these study centers or research infrastructures that are mentioned here under this hub structure are in fact different legal entities themselves, then they will have to identify themselves as different applicants in the proposal for the FSTP mechanism. This is how I would interpret this question.
Thanks, Pantelis. We got another couple of minutes. If anybody else wants to try and complement what Pantelis said, or we move to a very final question and then we call it a day.
Just to complement a bit on what Pantelis also said, I think that he has covered the question. Just a small addition, that indeed it depends on whether these entities are a department of the main entity or whether they are indeed separate legal entities, and this is something that has to do with the legal status. So this has to be checked in order to decide whether these entities are under one specific hub structure, as it mentioned in the question, or whether they are indeed separate legal entities with their own status, and in this case, they should be considered as a different applicant organization.
Thanks very much, Valerie. So I think the applicants will need to be very careful in determining and identifying who's going to be the intended recipient. So do your homework in relation to this and read all the available guidance, actually, which is a lot, on the participant portal on FSTP. As I said, it's becoming a bit a flavor of the day. I think that we are moving towards the end. I don't think we do justice to the next question if you addressed it too quickly. So whatever has been asked in slide, and you can see it there, will be addressed, as I said, in writing at a very short notice. So no worries about that, anything that's not been covered. With this, I want to thank our panelists for the to-the-point questions, answers they provided. And we'll see you again in the next session, exactly, if my notes are correct, at 11:50. So we'll take a break of 5 minutes and we'll see you there back here for another destination, which I believe would be the SERV destination of the 2026 call. If you have a bit of time now, go to Slido. If you have any questions about the next topic, the SERV topic, it's a very good use of time. So we'll see you shortly, and it's been a pleasure to be here with you. Good morning and welcome, or maybe welcome back if you managed to attend a few of the sessions that preceded us. This session on Q&A is about the destination SERV in the Work Programme for Research Infrastructure 2026. My name is Vainer Lusoli. I'm the Deputy Head of the unit managing research infrastructures in the Research Executive Agency. And I'll today moderate the panel trying to provide answers to the questions you sent via different means. The topic for today is research infrastructure services to support a healthier future, a global climate and energy vision, and a circular and resilient economy, and to advance frontier knowledge. So quite a wide-ranging topic. This topic has got only one, let's say, well, this destination has got only one topic: to implement digital services to empower neuroscience research for health and brain-inspired technology via e-brains. So it will follow the usual structure. We'll probably start with a couple of questions that we received via either the functional mailbox or the Slido. If you have any further questions you may want to ask, actually, as we get going, you can do it via Slido again, and the handle for that is INFRADEV RI 2026. But without further ado, I will go to our panel today, the people, the experts that will help you get clear ideas actually about what we're talking about. We have with us remotely today Teresa De Martino, who is a policy officer in the Directorate General Connect of the European Commission. And we have three colleagues from the Research Executive Agency. We have Emanuela Marinelli, who is the topic leader for this specific topic, for the e-brains. We have Alessandro Palmaccio, who is a legal advisor with us at REA. And we have Jérémy Delattre, who is the call coordinator for this call. So between them, they have more than enough expertise to help you answer the questions that you just posed. So without further ado, I'll go straight into the questions. The first one is, or reads, is there a minimum share of resources to be allocated to transnational or virtual access? And does the proposal have to offer both transnational and virtual accesses? And I believe that in this specific case, Teresa would be best placed to help you. Please, Teresa.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This question I think was to be expected. In fact, the proposal the call text does not provide any indication on the share of resources to be allocated to transnational or virtual access. This is really left to the consortia, to the proposal to specify. What is important is that the resources allocated are proportional to the expected impact that the research infrastructure wants to have on the research community. So it's very important also to take in mind that the evaluation of the proposals will, so the evaluators will assess the proposal based on the quality of the services offered, the expected outcome on the community, on the research community, and the suitability of the resources allocated to develop, to run, to implement the services. So it's really up to the proposal to indicate the resources and the share. The second part of the question is more about if the proposal has to offer both transnational or virtual access. Again, we don't provide any indication because it's up to the consortium depending on the type of service. And here I would remind the applicants to read carefully at the end of the work program, there is a section dedicated to clarifying which are the requirements for transnational and virtual access. There is a section on page, I think, 115, specific features for research infrastructure, very well detailed and very, very useful.
Many thanks, Teresa. It was very clear. We'll go then to the second question for you, I believe. And it says that the call refers to artificial intelligence, AI. So which type of AI technology can be considered for this application?
Yeah, the call text refers to AI in several parts, and AI will be an important feature for
for the services and the new developments of the e-brain research infrastructure. In fact, in the expected outcomes, we clearly read that e-brains, to become a state-of-the-art research infrastructure, will need to be powered by artificial intelligence, integrating innovative AI tools to support better services, intuitive user interfaces, and facilitating brain research. On top of that, these expected outcomes also indicate clearly that there is expectation for innovative brain-inspired AI tools based on insight from brain research, such as learning, decision process, plasticity, with application in research, robotics, and neurotech. And we don't indicate which approach to AI has to be adopted. I mean, could be generative AI, could be agent AI, could be a mix of approaches. But what is important is this dimension of developing a new brain-inspired AI approach that can only be possible considering that e-brains is the research infrastructure for neuroscience.
Thanks very much again. And then we move to the third question that we have as a, let's say, appetizer. And it runs like, how researchers applying for transnational access should be selected?
Well, I would remind here again to this annex at the end of the work program that specify the features for research infrastructure, because the requirements are very clear there. What is clear is that the proposal needs to ensure a mechanism for a fair and transparent selection of researchers or group of researchers for both in-person and or remote access, and that the open calls needs to be well and clearly disseminated. So this is absolutely very important part. So they needed to create awareness that there is an opportunity among the research community. And then about virtual access, this is provided without prior selection for the users, and depending, of course, on the type of service.
Very many thanks, Teresa. Time is running, and we got another few minutes. I suggest that we have at least one question. Let's see how long it takes to answer this, and then we shall see whether to take the next one live here today, or just to move it to writing, let's say, or answer it in writing. But let me read it. The question is this topic earmarked for continuing funding of the eBrains 2.0 and or eBrain Health projects, or can any external consortium, i.e. partially or totally unrelated to these projects, apply and be funded? Tough one. Teresa, please.
Well, it's a tricky question. So, of course, we have invested a lot on the eBrains research infrastructure that was generated after the large investment in the Human Brain Project. And so we don't want to duplicate research infrastructures on similar topics. So I would specify that this call is not to continue a project like the eBrain 2.0, but is to offer the services and to develop new services that are at the moment in the eBrains research infrastructure. So whoever can do that, it's fine, but it's not binding the continuation of the eBrains 2.0 or other projects that have been funded. So this is a new project, a new development that is more focused on AI and is really devoted to providing services. There are already services developed for the research infrastructure eBrains, and these have to be absolutely continued because there is a big investment that has been already spent to get these results.
As you said, it's a tricky one. Thanks for the answer. It was clear to me, at least. I think for the audience as well. Let me read very quickly the question, if it's something that can be answered literally In a few seconds, we'll take it, otherwise it's going to be one for the responsive writing. I read it aloud. It says, how will the INFRADEV and INFRASERV that attribute to clusters of S3 large ERs to pilot transnational access with accent to support missions-oriented research or main challenges guarantee the curiosity-driven TNA will be maintained and protected? Now I'll abuse my moderator's power and say that this question is a tough one again, and we'll probably need to answer this in writing to you. So don't be discouraged, we'll get back to you, but it doesn't just do in 1 minute. I want to thank my panelists, mainly Teresa, but others, for being here and providing you support and helping you with your curiosity, let's say. We'll take now a 10 minutes break. And the next session is going to be roughly in 10 minutes, 10 and a half minutes. And if you have a little time in these 10 minutes to start thinking about the next topic, you may want to go to Slido and see if there's anything you want to know about the tech part, the tech destination of the 2026 call. So it was a pleasure to have you here today. Thanks very much, and see you in the next session.
Welcome or welcome back to this Research Infrastructures Info Day live question and answer section. In this fourth session today, we will deal with the destination INFRATECH, next generation of scientific instrumentation, tools, methods, and advanced digital solutions of research infrastructures and fostering innovation and co-creation with industry. I briefly introduce myself for the ones that just joined for this session. I'm Andrea Huttera. I'm head of sector at the Research Executive Agency in the unit implementing the Research Infrastructures program. And I'm joined here in the studio by my colleague Agnès Robin from the Directorate General for Research and Innovation. She's head of sector in the unit for Research Infrastructures and Open Science. And she's joined by René Martins, a policy officer in the same Directorate General. We have online Marko Adamovic, who's a policy officer at Directorate General Connect. We have our legal advisor from REA, Alessandro Palmaccio, our call coordinator also from REA, Jérémy Delattre, and we have the two project officers from REA who are the respective topic leaders for the two topics in Tech 1, Anna Santoro and Enrico Pellizzari. I encourage you, if you haven't done so yet, to keep the questions coming in Slido with the hashtag, that I still don't remember, InfoDay 2026, I think, but you have the information on the screen. And we start with the questions that we have received already. The first question is for topic Tech 1. Are Chinese organizations eligible to integrate INFRATECH applicant consortia and in which conditions? And I think that's a question for Alessandro, please.
Yes. Chinese entities are not eligible to participate in any innovation action. Regarding research and innovation action, we have to do a distinction because the general annex foresees for different eligibility to participate. In the general annex, we can find some part and destination for which legal entities established in China are eligible to participate, and in this part of the end destination, research infrastructure is not included. So the answer is that Chinese entities are not eligible, or better, entities established in China are not eligible to participate in our research research innovation action. What I can also, when I say are not eligible to participate, I mean that they are not eligible to participate in any capacity, as beneficiary, as affiliate entities, as subcontractor, as recipients of financial support, as in-kind contributor. And I can complement this answer also drawing your attention to a specific clause that is included in the Tech 0101, subject to restriction for the protection of European communication networks. So this specific clause, again, the target of this specific clause is high-risk suppliers of mobile network communication equipments. Behind these high-risk suppliers, the Commission already identified two main entities, Huawei and ZTE, but the important aspect to mention here is that not only these two big companies are forbidden to participate, but also their subsidiaries. So if their subsidiaries are based in Europe, their participation is not allowed.
Thank you very much, Alessandro, for that very clear answer. We move to the second question, also on topic Tech 01. What is the rationale behind the different TRLs to be reached, depending on the use case? That's for you, René.
Yeah, thank you. So this INFRATECH 01 is clearly addressing technologies or methodologies for and methods for research infrastructures. Nevertheless, there can be outcomes or developments which can be used later in different areas, so which can lead to developments outside the research infrastructure area. And so for the ones which are for research infrastructures, we expect that they go beyond technology readiness level 4, whereas for the others, we expect them to reach 3 or 4, range 3 to 4. There is also another reason, because when you want to further develop these other applications outside research infrastructure application for market entry, you can apply for an EIC grant, a transition grant, and the eligibility conditions for these grants is that they were developed in an eligible project, and that they did not go beyond TRL 3 to 4. So with this condition, and when you clearly describe this in your proposal, which developments are for which area and which TRL level you are going to reach, you can increase your chances also to get EIC transition grants later.
Thank you. Next question, we stay with Tech 01. In topics with mandatory participation of S3 research infrastructures, ERICs, or research infrastructures that are international European research organizations, can the nodes of ERICs participate on behalf of the ERICs, representing the ERICs fulfilling this requisite? Alessandro, I think you're best placed to take that.
Yes, yes. I think that in this case we can differentiate between two scenarios in the end. When this kind of requirements is included in the context of eligibility condition, and the second scenario, as in the case of our topic, where the specific participation is included in the scope of the core topic. In this case, it's a requirement that will be left to the assessment of the expert, and the ERIC and the ERIC or the S3 and their nodes can be. It's up to the assessment of each consortium to decide how to include these entities in the proposal. My strong suggestion is to include the ERIC itself or the S3 itself as beneficiary, and then the related nodes as affiliate entities, unless they can also put the different nodes as beneficiary. It depends on how the action is structured, but it would be strongly advised to put the main entity, the ERIC, the international organization, or the S3, as beneficiary or affiliate entities in the proposal.
Thank you.
Welcome.
For the next question, Tech 01 still. I think my project is strongly aligned with European energy targets. Is there any support available in order to write a strong application? And yes, please.
So thank you. We don't have specific support to write strong application. We recommend you to contact your national contact point to make sure that you cover important aspects that are relevant. You have also to take into account key EU initiatives to see how you align with EU priorities, European energy targets. You have many ways to understand what is a strong application. Of course, it's on a competitive basis. So what is strong in one call, 1 year later might be not so strong compared to the other one. Nevertheless, we suggest you that you look at what are the past funded projects or ongoing projects, how they are structured, who is involved. And that would be also a good way to better draft strong application.
Thank you, Agnes. The next question, we stay still with Tech 01. How do you expect us to show complementarity with actions funded under topics Tech 01 from the work program in 2022 and Tech 01 funded under the call in 2024 in the proposal? René, please.
Yeah, thank you. Let's reformulate this a bit. It's actually not, this section has been put in the topic description to avoid duplication. So you should avoid duplicate work done already in these previous projects, or avoid merely incremental improvement compared to these previous developments. Of course, you can build on something which is then leading to something completely new and different, and is a step change in the technology. But it should not be, you can see from the links, you can consult what the projects have been doing, and you can also facilitate the task of the evaluators by just saying, okay, we might look as if doing the same as this project from the past, but we are doing this and this different. So it helps you to delineate your project from what has been done already. And by this, you show a complementarious in the sense, not doing the same, but something different. Yeah. And there were other questions going in the same direction, like how do we connect to these projects? And so you're not expected to connect to these past projects, except when you really develop something new based on a former development from one of these projects. And there's no need of synchronization with these projects.
Thank you very much. Now we move to the second tech topic, Tech 02, Digital Twins. Are there specific domains or sectors which proposals should focus on for the development of digital twins and their components? That's a question for you, Marco, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Quite a pertinent questions. I think for the proposers, it is important to highlight that indeed the focus should be on the sectors when environmental and climate dynamics actually intersect with the security risks. This risk might be interpreted through the potential disasters, health crisis, energy system crisis, migration, resource scarcity on one side, and this could be eventually achieved through the developing digital twin technologies that enable better forecasting, preventions, and decision-making across all these areas. What does it mean in practical terms? This means that the proposals are more than welcome to either develop new digital twins or major new components of existing digital twins to strengthen the foresight on one side, but also anticipation capabilities in short, meaning operational, medium, tactical, and long-term strategical scenarios. Finally, it is also important to highlight for this call that all the activities developed throughout this call should leverage and contribute to Destination Earth initiative, which aims eventually to create a highly accurate digital replica of the Earth system.
Thank you, Marco. Next, how will the integration with the Destination Earth systems work and the link with the implementing entities? We stay with you for the answer, Marco, please.
Indeed. So here the proposals should indeed try at maximum to ensure and to come up with adequate pathways for the future integration of their project results into Destination Earth system. In other words, proposals are expected, for example, to ensure that the new digital twins and their components of already existing digital twins are interoperable with Destination Earth ecosystems. They should also find a way propose a way how to collaborate with the organization responsible for implementing the systems. Here, we are mentioning the European Space Agency, Eurostat in a certain way, and throughout their proposals, and propose credible pathways to ensuring that developed solutions align with the system technical standards and also always take into account this long-term roadmap of its interoperability with the Destination Earth ecosystem.
Thank you. One more question on Tech 02. Are dual-use security applications allowed? Marco.
Well, the simple answer is no. So all activities must be exclusively focused on civilian use. So this is really important to highlight and to make it clear for the applicants, as it is also mentioned in the Horizon Europe requirements. So what does it mean? This means that the focus is only on civil security challenges linked to the environmental, but also climate risk, of course, and not for the military use. And also the demonstrated solutions and outcomes that comes out of course, these projects eventually must remain applicable within the civilian domain. So this is really important to highlight that military use applications are not allowed and will not be accepted for this call.
Thank you. Now we move to the questions that have come in live through Slido just now. Tech 01, are all proposals expected to go beyond TRL 4? René.
So, in a certain sense, yes, that they need to go beyond TRL 4 because you want to develop something for research infrastructures. Of course, imagine, for instance, you focus on digitalization. You might have another definition of TRLs in this area or methods. But what is important is that these new developments are proven then in a realistic environment. Yeah. So something which is comparable to TRL 6, TRL 7, something like that, but beyond TRL 4. So answer would be yes.
Thank you. We go already to the last question in this session. Under INFRATECH, is funding eligible for shared lab infrastructure and equipment as research infrastructure solutions to support TRL 1 to 7, reduce the valley of death, enable affordable access and foster co-creation with industry?
The thing is here, of course, it is eligible. Now the shared aspect here, for instance, is not. I mean, when you develop a new technology, it doesn't need to be for one research infrastructure only. So it can be something shared, of course, and basically, I would say yes. Yeah, because you want to enable affordable access, you want to foster co-creation with industry, we want to go to TRL 1 to 7, that it's reducing the valley of death, well, all the better, and but it should be, of course, and it can be shared. Yeah, so if you have something which can travel from one lab to another with kind of compatible interfaces, things like that, this is something which would be eligible.
Thank you very much. So all the questions that we've received but did not have time to answer now live, we will, as mentioned before, answer in writing and put them on the webpage for this Infra Day. We will be back at 12:35, so in about 5 minutes, with the last session of this Info Day on submission and evaluation. So I invite you to please continue using Slido with the hashtag InfoDayRI 2026 and see you back in a few minutes. session of the INFRA 2026 Info Day. In this last session, we deal with the more technical and practical aspects of the management of the research infrastructures call, from submission to evaluation and any cross-cutting issues. I'm Andrea Hutara, Head of Sector for Research Infrastructures at the Research Executive Agency. I have with me still two panelists from the session before, Agnès Robin and René Martins from the Directorate General for Research and Innovation. And online we have Alessandro Palmaccio, our legal advisor at REA, and Jeremy Delattre, the call coordinator from REA. We also have Anna Santoro and Marco Adamovic still with us. We start with the first question that we have received, which is restrictions for the protection of EU communication networks. Can there be non-EU partners on board, and what are these restrictions in practice? I think Alessandro alluded to that already in the the previous destination, but please, Alessandro, can you answer this question?
Sorry, Andrea, tell me, what is the question, sorry?
Is the restrictions for protection of EU communication networks, can there be non-EU partners on board? And what are these restrictions in practice?
Yes, okay. I already touched this question before in relation to the high-risk suppliers clause. Yes, this restriction affects essentially, at least now, Chinese entities. So in this case, they entities that are listed by the Commission cannot participate in our grant agreement, and their subsidiaries. This is important because their subsidiary can be established in Europe, and in any case, they are not eligible to participate.
Thank you. Then we have a question. Stricter data rules since February 2026. AEPD, the Spanish Agency for Data Protection, I believe, enforces GDPR strictly with high fines. Lawyers advise separate new local infra. Allowed to create new entity to hold resources or infrastructure and register patents for consortium, and how to reflect this in work packages and the budget. Can you tackle that one, Alessandro?
Sorry, Andrea, I'm not able to see this again.
I can read it out again.
Yes.
So there are stricter data rules since February 2026. The Spanish Agency for Data Protection enforces GDPR strictly with very high fines, and lawyers advise separate new local infra. Is it allowed to create a new entity to hold resources and infra and register patents for consortium? How to reflect this in work packages and budget?
On this point, we have not received any instruction until now. So it's something that will be addressed later on. We cannot provide the specific instruction on this.
Yes, understood. Thank you very much. We move now to see whether we have received questions in Slido. Yes. Are the application form templates only available within the submission system? Please guide on how to access and download them. What is the correct login page and necessary steps? We already have a pick. Jeremy, are you happy to take that one?
Really happy to take this one. So the answer is a clear yes. The only place there where you can find the official template is the submission system. You have dedicated templates for Dev 0102, Dev 0103, and SERV. What is published on the Funding Contenders portal, you will see that there is a list with the official template that will give you some guidance before we open the call, but as soon as the call is open, then you have to go in the submission system where you can download the package with the official template. Again, I repeat, because this is really important for Dev 1 Dev 0102, Dev 0103, and serve, there is specific templates for you to comply with what is requested in the work program. So you have to use that. The entry point for all applicants is the Finding Attendance portal, where you will look for this topic. Then you will see, if you go down, that you have the possibility to start your application from the Finding Attendance portal. This will bring you to the submission platform. So I see that in the question that you already have a PIC, which is good, but you will also need to have an EU login to start your application. And then you will see it's really step by step, so you won't be lost. But again and again, official templates are available on submission system.
Thank you, Jeremy. Another question, is there a unified and official definition of large research infrastructure at European level? And if so, where can it be found? I think maybe Agnès with maybe a compliment from Alessandro.
So there is a definition of a research infrastructure, not necessarily large, but research infrastructure in the Horizon Europe Framework Programme. But also by the description of the topics, you have an idea what is the target of the specific topic. For example, when we are discussing Dev 01 on the new concept of for the next generation of a pan-European research infrastructure, it's not exactly the same as research infrastructure of European interest, for example, able to attract users from different countries. So there are some nuances that you can feel from each topic, what is the exact target.
Thank you, Agnès. There's something to add, Alessandro, but are we?
No, we do not talk in our call about a large research infrastructure. The concept is research infrastructure declined in the different way that we already know, ERIC, ESFRI, and so we have in the grant agreement the definition of research infrastructure of installation. This is the main concept to be taken into account.
Thank you. Next question is it mandatory that the participating consortium has been involved together in earlier projects or in an earlier project? Normally not. In none of the topics of this work program. Every application has to describe the consortium composition and their operational capacity, but there is normally no prerequisite that the consortium has to have worked together before. We have one question on whether there is any brokerage event planned and when. We don't have such an event planned. It's the very short answer. And yes, Agnès?
Maybe I could mention that there are discussions from the project that were selected under the 2025 calls, the preparatory actions. There are 3 coordination and support actions. There is ongoing discussion to have a kind of a common kick-off event. And that could be relevant to prepare some 2026 and maybe later 2027 applications. So to be confirmed, but please follow up with this information.
And this is something that we would normally communicate through our channels,
yeah.
on the web, through the newsletter as well. We have no more questions. We've reached the end of this info day. So I thank the panelists. I thank everyone who joined us online and provided all these interesting questions. Final parting advice would be, please read carefully the work program. This is our legal basis, the legal document. We also invite you to watch or re-watch the videos that have been prepared and that have been posted online and of course will stay online. We will publish the FAQs from this info day also on the webpage in a few days. There's also a survey that we've prepared to get your feedback on this event. And you will find the QR code for this on the event webpage. So there you can also tell us your suggestions for any future info days. And with this, I will end by just asking you to keep in touch. We have a regular newsletter. The QR code for the subscription is also on the website, and we have social media with the hashtag Research Infrastructures. And I close the event, and I thank everyone for participation, for listening to us, and I wish everyone who applies good luck for the call.